The video was just released of Diddy beating Cassie. In my head, I'm like, what is Diddy actually thinking? Like, what is going through his mind right now, which is wild for him to literally beat Cassie. Now, if you haven't seen the video, just full disclosure, it is super triggering and it is super traumatic to watch. I'm going to break down this abusive cycle between Diddy and Cassie from a licensed therapist perspective. So you guys stay locked in because we're going to talk about it right now. What's going on, y'all? My name is Terrence, Stewart, men's mental health expert and licensed therapist. And again, I'm kind of lost for words, really, around this video that came out recently around Diddy in 2016, literally beating Cassie. Now, recently, within the last 6-7 months or so, there's been a lot of talk around Diddy and these allegations, sexual assault, physical abuse. But this video, kind of confirms a lot of suspicions and a lot of things that maybe, normally the public, people like you and I may have not really known, because a lot of this stuff was hearsay, a lot of this stuff was settled outside of court, but we didn't really see or witness really outside of people telling stories what Diddy was actually doing. Now, again, this video is super traumatic and super triggering. And again, it is wild. I don't even know how else to explain it other than wild. Now, a couple of statistics around domestic violence in the United States, which this is exactly what it was domestic violence, is that 1 out of 4 women will experience some form of domestic violence, which in my opinion is one too many. And also, 52% of women do not report being domestically abused by a man. Now, this video, again, is super traumatizing and super traumatic, especially if you've ever been in this situation yourself, or you've known somebody or witnessed somebody go through the same experience. Now, this is what we call vicarious trauma. Now, vicarious trauma is either you witnessing somebody else experiencing a traumatic event or even hearing about it and you having a traumatic or trauma response. Now, trauma response can include a flashback, an unwanted feeling, an unwanted thought, you actually feeling and reliving the whole situation, whether if it's physically or mentally as well too. You might even feel anxious when it comes to vicarious trauma. And I know a lot of women out there, especially watching this, and I've seen the comments under the videos, was like, yo, like, I feel what Cassie is going through. I feel what Cassie was going through. The fact that Diddy literally hit her in her head, dragged her to the ground, kicked her multiple times, and proceeded to continue to try to drag her back into the hotel room, which is super traumatic. And again, if you are a woman and you've been through the situation or you're experiencing vicarious trauma, I would most definitely advise that you take a break from social media and that you get the help that you deserve, whether if it is to talk to a friend, talk to a professional, a counselor, a therapist of some sort, because we can look at this about, okay, well, it's just a video and, it may trigger some things, but, you may not know what you may feel after witnessing this video. So my thoughts go out to those women who are actually experiencing vicarious trauma, and be sure that you guys take care of yourselves, especially if you witness the video. Now, if you've ever been in that situation and you heard about the video and you're kind of curious of like, hey, maybe should I watch it or should I not? I encourage you not to watch it. I encourage you not to watch the video. Take care of yourself. It's not worth re-triggering yourself. It is not worth re-triggering yourself, because once you re-trigger yourself and you don't know how to deal with those feelings when they come up, who knows what may happen. So that's what I would encourage you to do. Now, you have the free will to do whatever you want, but that's just what I encourage you to do. On another note, I can't imagine what Cassie's going through right now. Like, what is Cassie going through for real, especially after this video resurfaced? Now, again, this was back in 2016. So, well, it happened a long time ago. She got her money. She settled out of court, whatever that means, or whatever that all entails of, okay, well, she should get over it. But in reality, it's very hard to say like just get over it. You know, I would say it's kind of unrealistic to even get over a trauma like that, because just because you know you got your justice served, you know, you had other people support you and, you know, be part of your circle during that time, it doesn't mean those triggers don't go away. It doesn't mean that she may not possibly still be having nightmares about this. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have feelings around this as well, right? Because again, a lot of the stuff from, you know, you and I may have saw was, you know, hearsay. Okay, we heard about Diddy doing these things. We heard about, you know, the abuse. We heard about other people that was around her in that time confirming some of the things that Cassie was saying, not only with the physical abuse, but also with some of these sexual allegations as well too. Now that we have a visual and now that we have like evidence around, you know, I guess more so in the public eye, because I don't know if this video was showed in court or whatnot, we can now look at it like, yo, like this, Cassie was very, very courageous and brave to even just come out to say, you know, the things that happened to her, right? I think we do have to keep in mind, you know, with this situation that this is an isolated situation. You know, this is one incident that happened that was caught on camera, fortunately. But it doesn't mean that there wasn't other events that happened as well, too. There may have been other things that's happened between Cassie and Diddy that, you know, we may not ever see because there wasn't any recording, there wasn't anybody to capture the moment or whatever, however we want to frame it, or hidden cameras, or, you know, luckily this was in a hotel hallway near the elevator where the incident was actually captured. So this is only an isolated incident. So we don't know if there's more, you know, I'm pretty sure there is more incidents outside this one, because the way that happened in public, and you think about somebody that will openly abuse you in public. And again, I know it was at a hotel, but it's in a public setting, and to do all that, I would be safe to say that it wasn't the first time, first go around for Diddy to actually abuse Cassie. Again, it being an isolated incident, I'm pretty sure Cassie doesn't even know how many times it happened to her, because it probably happened so many times that, you know, who's keeping count of all that, right? Who's keeping the score of how many times she was traumatized during that time? One of the other points I want to really, really clear out too is the motive. Why would Diddy abuse Cassie? Why would he do this? Right? Many a times, you know, when it comes to domestic violence, we tend to blame the victim, right? Like, oh, what did Cassie do to get Diddy upset? Or was Cassie, you know, because Diddy, he may have had more money and more notoriety, you know, more fame. It's like, okay, what did Cassie do to make this quote unquote powerful man to abuse her? In this case, especially more so with domestic violence, we cannot victim blame. We cannot victim blame. The things that typically make men more abusive in relationships is a power and control issue. There is a dynamic in which a man may not feel like they're in power or control, so they assert their aggressiveness to try to gain power and control in the relationship. Now, from a mental health standpoint, this is very, very toxic, and this can be seen as an issue with the personality traits and things of that nature. If you feel like you have to be physically abusive to gain control in a relationship, fellas, you don't have no business being in a relationship. If you feel like you need to assert yourself by putting your hands on a woman in a relationship to gain control or make her listen, or whatever the motive is for you, you really don't need to be in a relationship. You need to do some healing. You need to sit down, see somebody, talk to somebody, and heal yourself before you end up hurting other people. I don't feel as if Diddy was really in a space to really be in this type of relationship, because if you get to that point, who knows what could have happened? You know, we're lucky that Cassie's still alive, because the way she was hit in the head, that could have been a fatal blow. That literally could have been a fatal blow. So we could have been looking at not Diddy being, you know, aggressive or having these assault charges, but Diddy actually facing murder. The last question I want to address in this video is thinking about, why didn't Cassie leave? Why didn't she leave the relationship? I've seen a couple comments in other videos that saying like, you know, why didn't she just leave the relationship? Why didn't she just get out? Why did she put herself in this position. Now, if you guys don't know, with domestic violence cases, it is very hard for somebody to leave a relationship or leave a partnership, especially if they're being abused, right? Because now we're talking about there's a psychological component to actually leaving, right? So there may have been points where Cassie was threatened, right? Diddy could have been like, hey, look, if you leave, I'm gonna kill you, or if you leave, X, Y, and Z is gonna happen. Or if you leave, X, Y, and Z is gonna happen to your family. Or if you leave me, I'm going to kill your career. Because a lot of her career was under, the Bad Boy record label, and Diddy, he controls all of that. So many times we can't look at the victim as, again, like victim blaming, like, hey, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you just up and leave? You had enough money to do so. It's very hard to do things, especially when you're being threatened or somebody is manipulating you or gaslighting you to believe that it's okay for you to be in the situation you're in, by belittling her and just making her feel like she isn't worthy. Especially when you're in those environments, it's very hard to just be like, hey, I'm up and leave. Because again, there's a psychological component that sometimes is overlooked, and we just look at, okay, you should just leave, like separate the distance, go somewhere, catch a flight somewhere, go stay with family. But again, if you feel threatened, you're probably going to stay in that relationship, especially if like your family's threatened. It's okay, let me just take whatever may come out of this situation because I don't want to hurt anybody else. This whole video and this whole situation has been very traumatic, not only to the people who witnessed the video, but also the people involved, such as Cassie. The very last thing I will say is my hopes is that not only Cassie can heal from this, but my hopes is that Diddy, he can get the help that he needs as well too, because there's clearly some healing that needs to be done on both sides. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Please keep both of them in y'all prayers, because this, again, us actually seeing it brings a whole new light to it, and I feel as if, we do need some form of healing around this whole situation as a community, as people who enjoy music, that are fans, for us who have been in those situations, for us who witnessed those situations, for us that know other people who's been in these situations. We all need some healing around this time. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Terrence, Stewart, y'all take care. Peace.